Well, ladies and gentlemen, what a whipsaw day it has been. I thought, you know what? I'm going to use tonight to just let all you guys ask your questions about the hybrid system. All throughout the week, it's the yields on the bonds and all of that madness. Yep, you know what? It's important that we pay attention to that because we need to understand what the big money is doing. But we got a system right here that a lot of people are asking questions about. So I'm going to use tonight for hopefully to help you guys put to bed any questions you got about the hybrid system, which will marry up to what's going on with Bitcoin. Yep, Bitcoin makes a very interesting move to the downside. Now, the live stream earlier on today was Bitcoin's run for profit. And then Bitcoin's taken a nosedive. And then a few comments are coming into the channel where it's like, yo, bro, ain't going to no 60K, it's going to 20K. Now we're back at the same price point that Bitcoin was at when we went live. Welcome to XRP 2.0. Now, the word on the street is that if Bitcoin doesn't break 60K now, then you're going to be experiencing a lot of chop on Bitcoin. It seems as though that this 60K region, or should we say the 58s and the 60s, seem to be a spot where there is a lot of accumulation, a lot of trapping, a lot of manipulation, a lot of bullying, a lot of liquidations. Like, it's absolutely phenomenal. But what I'm going to do tonight, guys, is I'm going to talk you through a couple of concepts about the hybrid system based on your questions, okay? And I'm hoping that you guys have something to go into the weekend with. So I'm going to start it off with what to expect going into the weekend. Then I'm going to dive into a few questions. On top of that, I'm going to show you a trade that I took earlier on today with the Nasdaq, which is going to marry into the questions that you guys are more than likely going to be asking. Okay. And it's all about vector candles. And if there's anything about this system that you guys need to take from it, it's focus on the small movements in the chart because they really do give you clues. The disadvantage that we have as candlestick viewers is we don't see the orders. We're not able to see them. Now, I was on the move earlier on and I was trading Nasdaq because I saw an opportunity and I said, I have to take this opportunity and it works in my favor. Then it's going to give a good example of how people can understand how to use the hybrid system. So if you do decide to watch this video back, you'll be then going back in the charts and finding specific points in the chart of whatever asset it is you're trading. And you'll be able to marry up the idea of how likely is price going to recover one point to the next, because that's what this system is all about. You are effectively trading back into imbalances or the areas where there's lots of activity happening in the chart. Okay. So hopefully by the time we're done with this live, you should be geared with enough information to go and do your own due diligence and dive into the system a little bit more. All right. Cool. So let's break down what's been going on with Bitcoin, and then we'll get into those questions. Let's get with the program, gang. Here we go. Mad love for everyone passing through to tonight. Mad love. Here we go. So, I mean, come on. Smack to the downside, straight back up to that daily open. It has been a whipsaw day, okay? Let me break it down to you firstly. So, every day I do these setups for the Platinum membership. Today was a tough day, nonetheless. It was. Out of all our setups, only Euro and Gold worked out pretty well. Okay, so we were looking for shorts on Euro, wanted to see it hit the low ADR. We didn't quite get the full ADR range of Euro, but what we saw was a nice drop. Well, it's actually now working its way. It actually worked its way towards that point, and it's now pretty much reset the ranges, low average weekly range. And we were effectively looking for it to drop down. Didn't quite take the low ADR, but we did see the move to the downside. And it was very tricky with the stop run to the upside. So you can see that we were here and we wanted to see it just take out that 1.10285. And we ended up with 1.10429. So 285 would have put us all the way down here. but we did manage to see some success in euro. Gold was more of the dominating one because gold just completely exploded away from our setup. There was the setup right there. And then we saw gold take that range. Okay, so she cleared that range, happy days. But other assets like oil, I mean, let me just go into oil for a second. Oil completely just went in the opposite direction. And that was probably down to this story right here, the potential oil spill. And that's got a lot of people kind of worried, which, if I'm all honest with you, depending on how much oil has actually leaked or spilt, it's going to have an impact on certain companies, depending on their profit margins. And of course, maybe the story of supply, because we know China ain't touching oil. That's why oil's been going down, because China's the biggest consumer of this oil. All right. So it's going to be an interesting one with oil. Now we go into cryptocurrency. So firstly, I'll start off with Solana. We wanted to see Solana try and make a recovery up. She just said, you know what, today I'm having a day off, and she ripped it to the downside. So we were not correct on that Solana trade. You can see it came down. It's tried to come back up, but nowhere near what we wanted to see them doing. Okay, but in tonight's live, we're going to break down the logic of what we can expect going into the start of a new week in cryptocurrency. And that starts on a Saturday. Okay. Going into Bitcoin, we also wanted to see the idea of Bitcoin. This was what my projection was at the start of the day. We wanted to see Bitcoin try and climb from this range and break each of these vector blocks, okay? Through the journey of the vector blocks themselves, we would be expecting a bit of a retrace. But what had happened in the end was Bitcoin just took a slump to the downside. Now, this area right here was on the premise that if Bitcoin was to break down from this point and go into the daily open, and you had a long trade right here, you would then be saying to yourself, let me close this trade off to see if Bitcoin can make a recovery from this range down here. Now, it went beyond that. It went beyond that 57 zone. It went, where did it go? It went all the way down to 57,696. And this was the area where I was like, okay, you know what? It doesn't look like it worked out on the setups, but I do need to try and recuperate and try and see if we can help anyone try and make a penny or two in the setups. So I came back from where I was at, and I gave them this video. And the video was basically a breakdown on what we expected Bitcoin to do from this range, because we had this move to the downside and we were anticipating that they were going to try and come back up and aim towards the daily open, because that's what we were looking for. But it was important that we saw the block vector right here, this block right here, which we're going to talk about, gets broken with a green vector candle. That's all I'm focusing on when I'm seeing price move to the upside, which is where I will explain to you my Nasdaq trade. That was the basis of me closing a losing position, switching direction, and taking advantage of the volatility to the upside. Okay. So we wanted to see that with Bitcoin, and eventually Bitcoin did come through. And as you can see, they started to break out with the green vector candles. It didn't finish as a vector, but the vector started to appear at the lows. And then, of course, Bitcoin decides to make the move, hit the daily open, and then it's come back in to test the same area it moved from to then try. And now looking like it wants to try and finish the day positive, which is absolutely brilliant. Okay. So that's what we did there. And also in that video itself, there was a live trading session that I did, a very quick live trade that I did to explain to the guys the importance of the vector candles. And this was on the Nasdaq, and it was a very, very small move. We cleared $190 on the trade itself. But what I'm going to do is going to just talk you through right now my trade that I took on the Nasdaq, and then I'll jump into the questions, and then we can just take it from there. Yeah, I thought I wasn't going to go live, ladies and gentlemen, but quite frankly, you've got to go live, because Bitcoin's about to pull some very interesting behavior, given that we've had this wild madness to the downside, and a lot of people have been shaken out. A lot of people have been shaken out. If we just look at the liquidations, there was a few long liquidations. I mean, look, man, it was, where are we? Look at that. They just didn't care, and they just went for it. Now, if they're using this move to the downside to affect, no, what day was that? Oh, that was a couple of days ago. Sorry, this is on the 1 hour time frame. Yeah. So it was this move right here. We didn't really see that many liquidations. Sorry. But there are now a lot of shorts that are coming into play with Bitcoin, where, quite frankly, I believe that they're probably going to be done with this range, and we might see a little bit of a recovery back up. It might not be a recovery straight to the upside, but when we're looking at what we've got next week, guys, I mean, next week is going to be a wild week in terms of data. So there's every reason for them to mark it lower. And of course, Monday is the bank holiday for the US. So guys are probably getting rid of exposure. You don't know. Okay. So what we got here, let me explain to you my Nasdaq trade, and then we'll get into some questions. I will say it now, and I will always reiterate this to everyone, okay? The Nasdaq and the S&P, and in terms of futures markets, they always repeat the same thing. There isn't a vector that they don't go back into straight away. And if they do come back into some vectors and move away from them, that is strength. All right. But there's something you've got to be mindful of, that when you're trading the Nasdaq and the S&P, Nasdaq moves like an absolute nut job. It is difficult to trade if you're using too much size. Okay. So that's the one thing you've got to be mindful of. And they call it crack for traders. That's what they call Nasdaq. They call it crack for traders. And if you want to know what it's like trading in a library, in the sense where it's so bloody slow and you're not getting any movement, try and trade the 10-year notes. That's all you got to do. You make your way over to the charts and you are looking for the ticker symbol ZN. You try and trade that, ladies and gentlemen. If you can get 6 ticks on the T notes, oh my days, you're a monster. Because it's such a liquid market where we're looking for orders like on Bitcoin, 100, 200 contracts. These guys are exchanging 10, 15,000 contracts. It's the most liquid asset out there, believe it or not. That's why it doesn't move so much. You see, look at this. It doesn't look like it looks like it's a lot, but it's actually not, ladies and gentlemen, when you're trading the bonds market. Okay. So let me get into this Nasdaq trade. So I've got two personal accounts that I thought, you know what, let me chuck some money into there. Okay. Start off with $5,000 in each one. Okay. And let's see what we can do with it. And when I take trades, I haven't been able to trade actively this week because I'm setting things up over here on my little station that I've got. And I thought, right, let me just try and exploit something here because I saw something brewing on the Nasdaq, and it's going to help you guys understand the hybrid system, especially when you're trading the Nasdaq. All right. You can take this logic with Bitcoin as well. But the problem with Bitcoin is you've got to hold on the trade for a little bit longer because you may have the issue of fees. And if you're using high leverage, you're going to get smacked about if you're looking to get little scalps. Okay. So just stick with me on this one. Then we'll get into the questions, and then that should help us call it a night. All right. Here we go. So this was Nasdaq. Now, Nasdaq today had made the drop to the downside. Whenever Nasdaq moves down, that's when I pay attention because people tend to be more optimistic than they are pessimistic. All right. People are always looking for an opportunity to buy. They behave as consumers. Okay. So when you're witnessing the Nasdaq and the S&P dropping and dropping and dropping, at some instance, someone is going to be sensing that there's going to be an opportunity to buy something on the cheap. That's the best way for you to approach trading the Nasdaq and the S&P. Because when you think about it, when Nasdaq was down nearly 1.5%, who else was down 1.5%? You only go over to the chart and you can see it was Nvidia. And then look what happened to Nvidia. Ended up being up 1.5%. So this asset itself it's unbelievable. Look, it comes down, it's a discount, and then it just ends up moving up. Happy days. And that's the best way for you to approach using and trading the Nasdaq, right? So this was my trade logic. On this account right here, this was today's trading, okay? But include minus 1 day this week. But let me just show you this one here. So this is my NinjaTrader account. And on the 25th, we started off with 5,000. It was originally 5,000, okay? But I took a trade. It was $446 trade. Happy days. And then on the 26th, we made a trade which netted us around $2,800, okay? And then in today's trading, we had this Nasdaq story, which I'll show you right here. So here's the performance of it, okay? So let me just bring it forward so you can see entries, exits, and what we did. So can you see that? Yeah. All right, cool. So I took a trade on the 27th, right? And that was for 49 minutes, and it was only for one contract, and we were waiting for Nasdaq to break out, and we managed to make $395. Happy days, cool. Then the trade that I took 4 minutes on, which is the video right here in the Platinum membership. That's that video right there. It's only, how long was it? Yeah, 6-minute video. And we took that trade, and that effectively netted us, where is it? $190. After that $190 trade, okay, I looked at the charts and I was like, here is an opportunity for me to try and exploit something. So I opened up one contract, and I held the contract for 38 minutes because Nasdaq was just holding out. Then it started to go against me. And the range that it was going against me at was this area right here. this area, which happens to be at the $19,499 zone, okay? So that's where I opened a short in this range because I was anticipating that they were going to try and come back into these vector candle regions right here, because that's what Nasdaq usually does. And when you're looking at the structure of everything, it looks like they were struggling. But then I came to realize and said to myself, hold on, they've marked prices down and now they're starting to come up. I was anticipating that the short that I was running from this range right here, which was around the price point of 19,440, where was it? 19,441. I said to myself, okay, maybe it's going to start working its way back down into this range and break further. Sorry, it was in this area here. So that's where I was going, running my short, 1944 there. So I was like, let me run the short. So then what happened was price started to go against me, but because it was only one contract, I was giving it enough leeway to say, okay, maybe there could be a recovery back down. Because I'm trading one contract, I've got flexibility to really test the idea if price was going to actually make its way back up towards the vector candle recovery zone, which they had left behind, which is this area right here. Now, look, you can see there's a red vector candle zone right there. As you work your way through higher time frames, you can see where the red vector candles lie. And you look in the chart, and this is where I was trying to run my shorts from, okay? Look at the actual structure. There's a massive red vector candle right there. They disrespected that range and they came back down. And that was my logic to try and run the short from this point to try and trade back into the wick. So then the logic comes in and you say to yourself, hold on a second, if they can't close below the daily open with strength and they keep moving away from it, why should I hold the trade? So I said to myself, I need to hold on to this trade to see if there's going to be any activity to suggest they're going to try and break out towards this red vector candle zone. Because if you look closely, there's a wick right there. So they've already been to the vector. You look closely here, the wick ended here and they couldn't make it. Then the next wick right here couldn't make it. So in my head, I'm thinking that the start of this next candle right here was going to then lead me to believe that price was going to go down. And at that point, you can see that I said to myself, all right, I need to give it a bit of leeway. So I went into the 1 minute time frame and I said to myself, right, if I see that price is going to go higher and start recovering the red vector candle, I'm going to close my trade and change direction with no bias. Remember, I wanted to see it go lower. I'm already witnessing a drawdown in the chart with this move up. I see the green vector candle above the 50 EMA. That's one of the strategies. So I'm seeing that and I'm thinking, okay, is there a reason for me to actually get out? I need to wait and see. Then I see price starting to work its way up and there's the wick over there with the green vector, which tells me that there's going to be an instance where if the guys who are going long in this area where the market can effectively offer out because of all the bids that have been picked up inside of this range, that means that area where it breaks is effectively going to see price to move higher. So it was at that point, ladies and gentlemen, when I said, okay, I need to close the trade and change direction. I closed the trade at 1738 and I closed it at 19,498. I re-entered at 19,499. And then I entered again at 19,501. I closed off at 19,561 for $1,255. And then I closed off the other trade at 19,561 again, 50 for another $1,205. So I made back my loss, plus I made some on top, which effectively led to the account now at $8,164 from a 5K balance. And this is all I've done this week. And we talk, and there's the trades down below right there. Okay. But look at where my entry was down here at the 444. No good. Look where my exit was and my re-entry was at that point for 19,498 and 99 and then 500, because I saw that the vectors were starting to come into the range to break up. I had every reason to see them going back into the vector candles. They'd already manipulated price to the downside and they said, okay, this is when we're going to start marking up. I was using no depth of market. I was on my phone. I was on the move and I had to quickly get to where I needed to be. That's why I was on my phone. And I rarely do that. It's only in certain instances when I have no choice, where I have to take the trade with me. And if I am, I'm having to concentrate. But all I had was the vector candles, no depth of market, no exo charts, no nothing. which is why it's important you understand the hybrid system as the foundation when you do want to start incorporating other aspects of trading into the hybrid system. And as you can see, they made the move up. They cleared that 19,537. They came back for the retrace to test the what? To test the same zone they moved away from. This is the dialogue you've got to have with yourself when you see price making a move back down to where your entry was. That was my entry right there. And when I'm looking at this, I see a stopping volume candle sweep that range. And I see it and I say, hold on a second, they're not done with this zone because the vector candle is looking promising because we recovered some of it and Nasdaq still got steam. It then makes the recovery back up and we closed it. We closed it at around, what was it? Where did we close it? 561. I saw it go to 561 right up there. That was my close from my entry. I was happy with that. It was initially meant to be a quick scalp, but no, I held on to it because I changed direction and managed to take advantage of the move right there. So from that low at 19,491.98 all the way up to 19,561. I was happy with that. Yep, it did shoot back up there. Happy days. Would have made a bit more than $2,000 on that trade. Could have made double up. Actually, it would have been about $4,000 or $5,000 move if we look at the difference from the entry point here. So that was, yeah, that was around $1,200 times 2 both positions. And we'll just mark it from there. Yep, it would have been about a $5.5 grand job, you know? So happy days for that. But I didn't. So what? I got what I wanted. I got the recovery of the vector candle because look, there was nothing left for me to recover. They recovered the vectors. And that's what's really important about the hybrid system. You get a recovery of a vector candle, capitalize on it, pay yourselves, and get out. That's all you've got to do. Questions? Let's get into it. Bitcoin. Any questions? Here we go. Any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Here we go. Here we go. 3 days, everything will go down hard. Okay. Never mind. Why now Bitcoin is correlated with the stock market? Before, follow gold. What has changed now? Because you've got Wall Street into it, man. Wall Street's in it. You know? Tino, have you ever done trading hammered? Nah, man. Try trading for like 27 hours. That's just as good as being hammered. But how can, here we go, top 10. But how can you recognize a fake out in which vector? That's the $1 million question, my friend. How do you recognize a vector candle is a fake out or not? Well, it's all down to how often you've sat witnessing the fake outs, okay? This candlestick right here was originally a red vector candle that was trading negative, okay? Now, if you go into the smaller time frames, you can see the first criteria that we're looking for is blue and green vector candles, all right? And you can see that there was a collection of green vectors here, which were acting as stopping volume candles. And then you've got this stopping volume candle zone right there. You've got a stopping volume candle zone right there. Then you have one more sweep, which is where we were expecting them to try and sweep this earlier on in the Discord. And they did do the sweep. And that sweep was the initial trap for the retail trader to go short, which effectively led Bitcoin to mark up, which led to this update right here to suggest that from this sweep to the downside was effectively going to lead Bitcoin higher. And if we could get the daily open, happy days, okay? But you'd be waiting for vector candles to break this price point right here. Now, look at how Bitcoin was behaving and look at what Nasdaq was doing. With Nasdaq, I can guarantee it's going to move faster than Bitcoin. Bitcoin takes too long to move. It's a lightly traded asset in comparison to the Nasdaq. And there's not many people trading it, believe it or not. Okay. When you've got people that are buying Bitcoin just for accumulation, there's lots of people buying it. Then there's lots of people selling it. But there's the futures market does dictate in Bitcoin where, in my opinion, price is going to go. And that's based on the exposure that traders have in terms of liquidations. The futures market will always do that. The spot market isn't doing it because there's not enough volume on the spot market, believe it or not. It's the futures market that carries more volume than the spot market. Let's just put that just to the test for a second. Journey data, look at this, right? just by looking at this. Oh, they've updated it. They have updated it. Wow. It's actually been updated. Something's changed with this. Wow. These guys have updated it. I only accessed this last week. Mint? No. Unbelievable. Has anyone used this? Insight? No. There we go. Oh. Insight. Ordinals. Wow. It's been changed. I need to check that out. But you got a list of data that comes into play. That shows you the differences in the volume of futures and spot. And you can see that futures are the ones that dominate. I can't believe it. They've changed it about. Okay, I need to go check that out, guys. I need to actually go and check that out. Okay. But when it comes to, when it comes to the Bitcoin, when it comes to using the vector candles and which one's the one to use, you have to be looking at the chart, man. Because before using the depth of market and exo charts, you got to understand what each candlestick is trying to say to you. You really do. Why was this candlestick on the Nasdaq the reason why I needed to hold on to the trade? Why did I not close my trade at this candlestick here? That was my entry point over here on the break of this zone. All right. Price had come back into it. Now, if this was, because it was a red vector candle. Now, my exit in principle would have been outside of the range because it was only one contract, but I opened two at that point. Okay. Now, two contracts would have taken me down and it would have been about a $2.5 grand loss. Okay. So I could have absorbed that. At this point right here, I see price coming down and it's a red vector candle and I'm watching it and I'm waiting. I'm looking at the time and I'm seeing it still got 30 seconds left. And then all of a sudden, I see a reversal on the Nasdaq coming into play on the 15-second time frame where I see a big push on the candlestick. I then say to myself, oh, hold on a second. How's that looking on the 1 minute? Oh, it's now become a stopping volume candle. That tells me that the point where they initially broke out from, which is this area here on the vector candles, the history of the market came in again, where the offers came in and the bids were effectively there to mark price higher, which is where this stopping volume candle gives you the idea that price is going to continue higher. Rise, retrace, continuation. And that was a very good continuation, but we got out at this point right here because I would have given money back and I would have been cheesed off about it and I would have said, okay, what do I need to see happening? And I would have had to play the patient game just to anticipate this move up. And I don't want to be doing that, especially when it's 10 to 9 in the UK, because 10 minutes after is power hour. And that's when the spreads get not spreads, but price action goes a little bit crazy on the depth of market, which is difficult to really monitor. And if you trade in that time itself, guys, you're an absolute madman because you'll get absolutely bullied in the charts if you do that. But yeah, finding the right vector candle and which one is going to be the determining one to move price away from a specific zone is all about your time witnessing that candlestick doing it over and over again. The best practice for anybody new is to go into the chart, okay, on Bitcoin and say to yourself, right, let's do this. Take a green vector candle, which is this block right here, okay? Actually, no, let's just do this to make it easier for you so you can see how hypothetically to use it, okay? You see this blue vector candle right here. You see that blue vector candle, what's in your mind is at some instance, they're going to recover it. So what you need to do is you need to mark off the high of the candlestick in the sense where it's the open and the close of the candlestick. Mark it across the chart. Keep it across that chart until it invalidates it in the opposite direction of what you want. So if they do break down below the low of the candlestick, which is this area here where the open was, okay, then the block principle itself is no good because price has gone against you. Because a blue vector candle suggests that price is going to get marked higher. So you're looking for longs on this. And then what you're effectively looking for, if you mark it across the chart, okay, hypothetically you did this, you would, and we're just going to do this for the nature of demonstration, okay? But if you were to take this logic, what the hell? What is that? Come on, T. I don't get that. Never mind, whatever. If you were to watch this going and going, you would be getting a profile that price was holding inside of this blue vector candle zone. You would. because you can see it's holding the block. So that tells me that the guys that went long in this area here mean business to mark price higher. Well, what's in front of me that would make me believe that to be the case? You've got this violet vector candle right here. So at some instance, I'm going to expect Bitcoin to go into it. And this was one of the projections we put out for the Platinum members on the, it was on the Thursday night, the Wednesday night. Wednesday night, we had the projection for Bitcoin on the Thursday to see a movement to the upside. Happy days. And they climbed up. And it was all based on this blue vector candle block. If they came into it and they moved away from it, happy days. You're looking for green and blue vectors. And that's what you got inside of that range, which is suggesting that price was starting to bounce around in this zone, which is then telling us that the guys are looking to hold price. Because look at the red vectors. They keep marking it down, but they're not going up. Sorry, they're not going down. That tells me that bids are in here buying up Bitcoin. And then they made the reversal out. Happy days. They come back into the violet vector candle. Now, just this logic right here ended up leading Bitcoin to move up higher. Look left. What's it got? It's got a vector candle zone right there. Where did you see that? Where have you seen that before? Well, we've seen that today. This was on Wednesday, and that was on Thursday, okay? And this on the Nasdaq was today. And that's the same logic that we applied on today's trade. Straight back into the vector candles, which is there, the red vector. It's the same logic. We just did that on the 1 minute time, on the 5 minute time frame for Bitcoin. The same thing happened with the Nasdaq a day later. So you can't say to me it's hindsight, it's easy to talk about it, Tino. Well, I've shown you a trade that I took based on that logic. Where is it? Oh, I don't even know where it is now. There we are. Oh, God. But it's there. You just saw it. Just rewind the video back. Oh, here it is. There you go. The same logic. You know? Trading back into the vector. That's what I look for. That's all I'm looking for. After you've seen them marking prices to the downside and then they start holding out, the logic says that you want to be trading back into that zone. So then when you go back into Bitcoin and you're trying to pick a point in Bitcoin saying, okay, which price point do I expect Bitcoin to go into? Look at the profile. Look at the range. What are you working with? You're going to be picking a vector candle all the way up here. No point. No point in looking for 61,865 when price is all the way down here when it can't even get above 59 or 59,000 or not even 60,000. That's the important bit about it. I have a serious question, wondering why you are such a bad man. Bad man? What do you mean bad man? Here we go, another question. Here we go. What's your opinion on next week's price action? What to look out for? Well, you've got this Saturday as the start of the new psychological ranges. Now, the psychological ranges for cryptocurrency, okay, take this down, but more so, just go to the website, all right? Make your way over to Traders Reality website and just go to the courses, right? Do this before Saturday, 10 p.m., all right? UK time, which is 5 p.m. Eastern Standard. Just go and do this free course. It's going to tell you everything you need to know about the hybrid system, especially the psychological levels, all right? Take that course. It's free. When you take that course, you're going to learn about the psychological levels. This area here, click that. When you go into it, should have a PDF, I believe, or is there? No, there isn't. Not on this one. No, there isn't a PDF on this one, but it breaks the psychological levels down for you, okay? And it helps you mark them off yourself. To put it into perspective, there's the example of the psychological levels, all right? If you go into the hybrid system indicators and you go into the main on the settings, scroll all the way down and highlight at the bottom here, it says show historical psychological levels. Now, this is for anyone new. Click OK. What you will then find is the historical psychological levels themselves will print. And when you go back in the chart and look at how price behaves, 1 minute they move away from it at the start of the week. By the end of the week, they come back into it. And you'll keep seeing this thing happening over and over again. See it happen there. Monday, they move away from the zone. Keep dropping, keep dropping. Thursday, midweek reversal. Up it goes straight back into the psychological levels. Happy days. This, you got a nice little pump right here, but we had been coming from a move to the downside. Okay? So look, psychological level, it drops down and then makes a reversal back up. What day? Wednesday. Happy days. It clears it, comes back down again. Next week, you see the same thing. Just go back and study this, man. Go back, because you can guarantee there's going to be behaviors when you collate the vector candles together. Look, just take anything that we've just been discussing, right? And just look at this hybrid system and say to yourself, where can I correlate the same logic, right? Here you go. You've got a violet vector candle right here. And this was on 19th of July, or 19th of June. Violet vector candle, blue vector candle comes into play. You've got the psychological levels over there. They moved away from them. They tried to come up, rejected it, came back down, left the vector behind. Then they followed through and cleared price back to the vector candle. So if you were to just come to the hybrid system, use this system and say, I'm only looking for the a vector candle that has been left behind, that has not been recovered, okay? And this is on the basis of price moving down, okay? So if you see price has made a move to the downside and it's away from the psychological levels, you're then making the assumption that price is going to come back up into those psychological levels. So what you're waiting for? You're waiting for confirmation that could be the case. Now, if you manage to exploit it from here and you've got a bit more experience with the hybrid system, happy days, because you would have been trading back into the logic of what? Of the red vector candle right there. Fine. Next one, you see this, same story. The blue vector candle came into play in Asia. You're looking left, you can see there's a violet vector. Did exactly the same thing on Nasdaq today. Bitcoin's done exactly the same thing on its price action today. And we're talking about something that happened on the 18th of June. We projected that same logic on Bitcoin earlier on this morning, earlier on today, just after the New York Live. Not after the New York Live, around 7:30, okay? And it just came back up because it recovered the vector. So you can't say it's hindsight that we're talking here, because it's about recognizing how it may behave later. That's what this system's about. You're waiting for triggers in the chart where the logic of bids and offers, price has been dropping to the downside, right? So you know they're buying. Well, you can prove that right here. They're buying up, and buying is starting to disappear. The bids are disappearing. Everyone is short on Bitcoin right now, and they're excited about it. And this is where you can get caught out. And then it just sharply reverses. Look at that. That's the 12-hour candle. That is a big rejection on the 12-hour candle. This 12-hour candle only needs to finish positive, and then you're going to be going into a very interesting evening going into Asia, ladies and gentlemen. Move down. Price, vectors at the lows, trade back up into the vector candle. And if you did do that, you would have been holding on to the trade because you've got no reason to let go of the trade because price isn't breaking down. Has it taken out the Asian session low? No. If it works its way towards it, you invalidate your position, close your trade, start again. Look for the next setup. Trade up to the psychological ranges. Happy days. Now you've got these psychological ranges. Okay. Tonight, Bitcoin could shoot up and they could end up back at the psychological ranges. But remember, the psychological ranges will reset tomorrow night at 10 p.m. So we've got another 12 hours nearly, okay? Nearly 24 hours before this resets. That's a whole trading day in principle for them to try and get back to those psychological ranges. That's on the premise that they do. They might not. But it starts tomorrow with daylight saving, it's now, 2200 hours. So it's 10 o'clock UK time, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard. Okay? And when that range sets, don't trade it straight away. Wait until the first high and the first low have been formed. And once you've got that, which usually takes about 8 hours, that's when you get the flavor of what they could develop into. Sometimes they do some bold moves like they like to do. But if price is stuck within the psychological ranges at the start of the weekend, don't bother trading it. You'll have a better chance trading altcoins than you do with Bitcoin because Bitcoin just doesn't move. Okay? Does the hybrid system work on crypto charts with extreme low volume? Yes, it does, but you've got to be very, very careful with it. You have to be careful because you're just getting shaken up. I mean, why would you want to trade anything with really, really low volume? Define low volume. Bitcoin's low volume in comparison to the Nasdaq, you know? So just let me know that logic. Tino, given the PCE news release, what are the big players thinking and how do you think they will affect the markets for Nasdaq and crypto in the coming weeks? Look, the PCE came in lower. That's fine. All right. But the basis of what we're looking at, guys, is this information right here. It's next week that's going to put the nail in the coffin if we have a problem with the interest rates or not. The markets are already pricing it in that it's going to be the case. You can see here, economic data supports expectation of 25 basis points cut in September, which probably explains why everything started to move up today, because we're getting closer and closer towards the end of the trading day, and the Nasdaq and the S&P managed to do very well today. And that was just that. You've got vector candles all the way. Look, you've got vector candles all the way up here with Nasdaq. I expect them to go back to those vector candles. And if this is the range that holds it at the 800 EMA, given that they've recovered this vector candle region right here, well, I'll be trading that logic to see if they can actually climb back up again. And if they don't manage to successfully break up, doesn't matter to me, because I'm only trading a small range of price movement. But I'm taking the logic of what I could expect the market to do. And if I manage to capture the momentum, which the market is making everybody believe it to be the case, and I pay myself, I don't care what it does afterwards. That doesn't matter to me, and it shouldn't matter to you. You're in to try and make money, not try and prove that you're right continuously. No, you're not going to be right continuously. Once you realize a return, get out, start again. Market ain't going nowhere. Tina, I'm having trouble differentiating things. Oh, is it a supply zone, or is it market liquidating people, or is it just testing that price point to break above, below, and things like that? What to do? Oh, Pepe, bad man. I get you, bad man. Safe for that, bro. All right, and cool. Listen, what is a supply zone? What is a demand zone? What is a price break point? What can you do with it? Okay, then cool. Answer to your question, yes, you can trade Nasdaq and S&P on BTCC. All you've got to do is just go over under the tokenized section bit right here, right? Just go into this bit here and go down to tokenized stocks, and Nasdaq is under Tech 100 and SP 500 is SPX 500. And you got gold, silver, and coin, Amazon, and all the top stocks are in there as well with BTCC. So you need the link for that. It's in the description of this live stream. Answering the question about what's a supply zone, what isn't a supply zone, what is a demand zone. First and foremost, the rules of supply and demand is there is no such thing as no supply, and there's no such thing as no demand. And that is contrary to the wisdom of supply and demand. You can't say there's no demand in that zone, and you can't say there's no supply in that zone. Why? Because there is a continuous supply in the marketplace. Why? Because if there was no supply, you wouldn't have any movement. You'd have a broken market and no one would trade. So you can't say it runs out. You can't say there's none there. What is it? In my opinion, if we understand the basis of the business model of the marketplace, you'll then look at supply and demand differently. Let's just do this to put it into perspective for you all. This is a company called Signals, okay? Signals with a C, Signals.io, all right? This is the tape of Bitcoin. What are you noticing? There is continuous transactions, okay? Look, you've got buying, you've got selling, okay? If there's more of something in one area, but less of something else, you would deem it to be a supply, because it means that there's no one buying at that point. That's why price doesn't go higher. Because no one buys when prices are rising, because you can't buy when price is rising. Hold on a second, Tina, you're confusing me, bro. How can you not buy when something is rising? I go into a shop and I buy something, I'm buying it. And if I want to go and buy Bitcoin and it's moving up, I'm buying it, it's moving up. You're not buying. You're being sold to. So every time you buy, you want to make sure you're buying when prices tanked, so that you are eliminating the wide spread that you have when you're buying at a low point, assumed low point, and the clear difference of buying at a high point. You can tell the difference But you might then say to me, yeah, but Tino, but what if Bitcoin then goes up from this point? Let's just go into Bitcoin. What if Bitcoin from this point here? So if you're buying Bitcoin on, let's just do this for a second. Look, 2-minute time frame, okay? Just an example. If you have just witnessed Bitcoin make this move to the upside, okay? And you're buying here. You're looking down there and like, oh, man. And then you see it come down. So why did it come down? Because there's a supply there? No, there is no supply. There is continuous supply and demand in the marketplace. But you can't say there is no demand up there because there's a supply of orders. No, that's not what this is. The market is continuously transacting. What's up there is the lack of commitment to sell. They don't want to sell anymore. They've done their selling. They want to bring it down. There will always be people buying. And people make the mistake of thinking that supply means that there's no buyers up there anymore. They're not looking to buy anymore. Yes, they are. Because how are these guys able to drop price? Because all these guys right here are going long and they're setting margins. And they're just getting attacked. So when these guys are all up here trying to buy, the guys up there ain't selling it to them. So the algorithm works in such a way where it can pick up on these inconsistencies. That's why you always end up seeing price reject highs pretty aggressively, because the algorithm needs to move to the next area of liquidity. It has to start something else. Go and look at every single high. You see a wick. You see a stop in volume candle. You see crazy price action. I mean, look, you got this wicks up here. You got wicks up here. They come straight back down because look, that there. How is that an area of supply? You're basing it on the logic that people are no longer interested in buying. That's why it dropped. Wrong. It's because no one wants to sell to them. There will always be someone there as supply. That's why I see that supply and demand principles. That's why you're asking that question. Because it's flawed in my opinion. It's making people believe no one's there buying. That's why price dropped. Bruv, please. That's wrong. There is always a supply. You look in the depth of market, you'll see there's people up here with orders. So if you just do it like this, imagine this candlestick here, right? Up there is a depth of market. There's a profile. You've got guys that are placing offers, okay? And then you've got guys that are placing bids down here, okay? Well, whilst price is going up, it's saying that there's people up there that are selling. And this keeps on marking up because the guys who are coming into the market to buy, to take from the market, they're getting sold to from these guys up here. Well, if these guys say, yo, listen, we're not interested anymore. We don't want to sell from this point. We want to drop price back down and start getting some more bids so we can buy it and sell it later on. Well, all these guys that are trapped in this area thinking, sure, what am I going to do? I'm trapped. And that's why the market aggressively drops lower. So the next time you see a zone where you're thinking, is it going to be a supply? Is it going to be a support? Is it going to be a resistance? Use the hybrid system from the perspective of the behavior of the candlestick. Look at today's behavior with Bitcoin, okay? Was that an area of demand? Nah, man, they were trying to sell the stock, ladies and gentlemen. They were selling. Everyone was selling, okay? They were dumping their Bitcoin. They were getting scared, all right? No one wanted Bitcoin. But the bigger players were buying it from them. And then they stopped buying it because they wanted to mark price up, which happened to be a wick, which happened to be a stop in volume candle, which happened to be the reversal, which happened to be the deviation away from the moving averages, which happened to be the fanned out story right there. There's your fan. 250 EMA, 200 EMA, 800 EMA. That's why I took the same trade on Nasdaq. Because Nasdaq had based out. They had come to the downside and they had got the trade. I can envision the depth of market. They're trading at the lows of the profile where the bids are there. And the guys who are trying to sell are trying to just get rid of contracts. And you've got guys that are trying to sell. And then they realize that price is going back up against them, shaking them out. Be careful with the idea of supply and demand. Don't just look at the chart and be like, right, principally this should be an area of supply, this should be an area of support or resistance. Think of it from the perspective of buyers and sellers. Who is allowing them to continue to buy? Who is allowing them to continue to sell? And when you pay attention to that and marry that with the vector candles, you see the blue vector candle right here and the green vectors. That's why I'm saying all the time, make sure that when you're buying Bitcoin, you're seeing blue and green vector candles appearing after a move to the downside. Because when you've got that move to the downside, continuing, and then you see these green vector candles, stop in volume candle 1, stop in volume candle 2, which is a red one there, green vector, blue vector candle, stop in volume candle right there. It's the same shit over and over again, ladies and gentlemen. We're at a different price point. So you can't say to me that it doesn't happen, because it does all the time. That's what leads to reversals. Ain't no supply and demand story. Sorry. There is always a supply. Always. This is just a game of words. If there are more buyers, then price goes up till people are not willing to buy as price is too high. That is the biggest lie. That is the biggest lie. It can't be because buyers are not prepared to buy. Why were people so caught up about Bitcoin? Well, what about all the guys that are doing DCA on Bitcoin at 67K in the last all-time high? You're then trying to say to me that the retail trader is outsmarting the market maker. Someone is selling up there. But market maker, the way he does his business, he's been building his positions beforehand. And if he allows price, look at not to shout and not to have a stab at you, my friend. I'm just trying to deliver a point here, okay? Mad love to you, man, okay? Look at this green vector candle right here. So we know market maker likes to build his positions in the opposite direction, okay? So when you're going short, he's going long. And when you're going long, he's going short. That's the premise of the vector candle. You see the green vector candle? Market maker going short. See it again? Market maker going short. See it again? Market maker going short. Why does it stop from that point? Because if market maker allows price to continue to move up from this point, the guys that jumped onto the bandwagon in this candlestick right here are going to be making a ton of profit. And what about the guys up here? They're going to be making profit. What about the guys up here? Notice how it's a green vector candle that's going nowhere. It clears price. Just look. Notice how it makes a move to the upside. That big candlestick got everybody pumped. People were buying there, my friend. That's all-time high flavor. They ain't getting smart and thinking, oh no, it's too expensive. Hell no, the moon boy's going for it. Notice it doesn't really go anywhere. All that green vector, and it was only able to make a measly move of what? How much was it? A $700 move. That little move there. $650 move on Bitcoin. That candlestick. If he's making money here and he's making money here and the retail trader's making money there, well, market maker needs to go and attack the margins to make a return on all his shorts. That's why price goes back into the vector candles. Because the principle is that in this area here, there's orders that have been set up against you. And when you're seeing price going up and up, FOMO's kicking in like no tomorrow, you feel like you're missing out on the pump, there will always be a supply because retail has been programmed to pay premium, not discount. That's why you buy when it drops and you sell it when it's high. That's why you've got these dudes down here. Look, man. This guy down here, he spent $1.31 million on buying Bitcoin at 58,757. Why are you not seeing them up here? Why is no one buying up here? Because that data is pointless. Why? Because that's what's wasting people's time, is the retail traders buying as price is rising. In order to understand if Bitcoin's going to keep going up, you want to pay attention to how often people are prepared to sell it for. Look at this. You got a guy up here that wants to sell 1 million Bitcoin at 65,000. You pay attention to that, not the retail trader, because you know the retail trader is doing the wrong thing. It's good to pay attention to him, but pay attention to who is allowing the retail trader to buy. I hope that makes sense. I hope it makes sense. Does that make sense, ladies and gentlemen? At all? Tino, yeah, I'm having break high, happy days. Okay, Tino, does this work on small cap altcoins? It does work on small cap altcoins. Yes, it does. It does work, but you just got to be very, very, very patient with the altcoin itself. All right. So if you were to pull up, For example, I mean, a low liquid asset, a low liquid asset. I mean, here we go. I'll give you an example right now, and then we'll call it a night. Let's just take this, for example. I mean, it's still okay. Really, let's take AMP. I mean, look, this is a low liquid asset, okay? And you can see that from the wicks. Just be careful with it. Yeah, it does come back into vector candles, but it's crazy. Look at it. How are you going to do anything with that? You can't. So that's why I always stick to just high volume, high volatile assets like Bitcoin, Solana. You know, if you're going to trade any altcoins, ladies and gentlemen, it's either going to be Solana, Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Matic. That's it, in my opinion, because they just move so well. They move so well. Would you say this applies more? Yes. Forex is the best bet. It comes from Forex. The hybrid system is originally based on Forex, okay? So just take that into consideration when you're trading it. But you can use it in the stock market. Go look at NVIDIA. Vector candle recovery, they come back into those. I'm expecting them to come and clear those vectors. All right. They come back into that vector. They cleared the gaps. Like, go look. Vectors. Live streams from before. Said to you, they'll come back into this vector candle. They did it. Come back into this vector candle. They did it. And this was before the this was before the 10-to-1 stock split, ladies and gentlemen. You know? Verillas, what's your opinion on the high time frame liquidity levels? Oh, I don't know. Could you please do a NVIDIA trade setup for platinum? Okay, I'll do that for you. FET is running again. Okay. Are we cool with that so far, ladies and gentlemen? Okay. Yeah, I do. If you're in the Discord, then tonight was a one-off because I wanted to just explain about Bitcoin and get any questions that people may have wanted to know about Bitcoin. And going into the weekend tonight, ladies and gentlemen, you've got the psychological levels forming later on this weekend on Saturday. And this is a very important time for Bitcoin because all this behavior down here is going to reveal to us if they do mean the business to try and mark back up. Okay. And news-wise, there's nothing out there that's going to impact the market in cryptocurrency unless there's an absolute mad event. But in my opinion, they're preparing Bitcoin for this week's data that's coming out, next week's data that's coming out. So just take that into consideration when you are going to be trading Bitcoin for the weekend. I like volume profile. Yep. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're good. I'll be joining you again on Monday, bank holiday, and just do these tests, man. Just go back in the charts, mark off the psychological levels, go back and practice and look at how they behave. I did exactly the same thing. And it's all about keeping your risk to a minimum so that you're not getting thrown about, so that you can then allow the asset to go back because they're going to bring it back just by the principle of the law of averages by your standard deviations and your means and what have you. All right? With that being said, guys, mad love and respect, and I hope it serves. Ask any questions below, and I'll get them answered for you when the live's done. All right? Mad love and respect, gang. Peace.